Okay, so I wanted to explain to your audience, which I'm assuming are high school students, the distinction between a bachelor's degree, a master of science degree, a bachelor of science degree, a master of science degree, and a PhD, which is the doctoral degree, especially the PhD. I mean, first of all, I would suggest to a student that that they will decide their career as they go along. So you're not going to figure out your career now. All right, you're going to figure out the direction in which you're going to move, and then your career will sort of get more and more solidified as you move along. But at some point, you're going to ask yourself, okay, do I need? I mean, bachelor's. There's no question about it. You need a bachelor's degree, and you'll ask yourself, should I go on and get a master's degree? And then you'll ask yourself, well, what's the PhD all about? All right, so I just wanted to explain that in engineering, as opposed to physics and mathematics and chemistry, we have three viable degrees: bachelor's, master's, and PhD. Most physicists get their bachelor's degree and then go straight on to their PhD. The PhD is different from the master's and the bachelor's degree. And in engineering, I often recommend to my advisees that they consider seriously a master's degree, but not necessarily a PhD. The industry needs highly educated individuals, and the masters will get you. I mean, the bachelor's will get you a certain distance, but in order to get that bump up in your education and actually sort of the sophistication that you're thinking about, your career and your field and so on, I recommend strongly for those who are really good, who are sort of at the higher parts of the class, that they get a master's degree. It's a 2-year degree. It's worth the extra 2 years because you will have a more interesting job when you go into industry. The competition will be less. There'll be still plenty of competition, but it'll be less than the bachelor's degree. But it will sort of get you into the company at sort of a higher technology level, which makes it more interesting. Otherwise, you have to basically learn that on the job, and only people who are really self-motivated are going to do that. And if you do get a master's degree, I strongly advise. In my day, there was no choice. You had to do a master's thesis. A master's thesis is a small research project that then gets written up into a document that we call a thesis. A PhD is a research degree that fundamentally different from the master's and the bachelor's, in the sense that a person who gets a PhD degree, which is another four years plus beyond the master's degree, maybe 3 or 4 years beyond the master's degree, are those who really want to do research as part of their career. And you can do research in industry as well as at the university or at a national lab like NASA or something like that. You can do research also in industry. In fact, industry needs researchers. They need PhDs. It's one of the misconceptions is that industry doesn't hire PhDs. They do, but they hire them into the research part of their company. Pratt & Whitney has a huge research group. And you would get hired into that part of Pratt & Whitney rather than the sort of nuts and bolts part or the sales part or the administrative part, so on. So a student who goes for the PhD they're basically saying to themselves, I want to do research as a major part of my career. Part of the reason why I strongly advise doing a master's thesis, if you do a master's degree, is so that you can understand what research is. What is it all about? It's this kind of open-ended thing where you're trying to answer questions. Sometimes you're not even sure what the questions are that you're trying to answer. You're basically trying to uncover new knowledge and then apply it in the technology arena. So I just wanted to explain to high school students thinking about engineering to think about all 3 degrees. When you start off at the bachelor's level, you don't have to really commit yet. But when you go beyond the bachelor's level, then you kind of have to make a decision whether you want to go bachelor's and then into industry or PhD. You generally go through a master's and then into industry, or PhD, and you generally go through a master's degree to do your PhD. Sometimes they just, the PhD is an extension of the master's, and you do another three years of research or something like that. But I just wanted to explain that.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for being here. I think this last part especially was like the most informative. Well, not the most, but like a very important part, because PhD is viewed as like the top thing. Well, where I think now we learned that it's more of a what you do rather than the top dog.
Exactly. That's exactly the message. It's a career decision that has to be made. It's not that, okay, I'm going to try to make it to the very top. That's not it. It's a different path. Okay. And that's the way it should be viewed.
All right. Well,